Hello, loves, and welcome back to my short series on Anatomy of a Gay Man. So, where I left off on my last video was walking into my journey of just discarding the distorted masculine altogether. I knew that I was 6'4" and I was black. I was always told, "You a 6'4" black man? How you gay?" And I was always like shocked by like, "Wait, black men aren't gay?" And it really confused me. I really thought that was a real thing. And then I met closeted gay men, which taught me a whole new level of deceit and secrecy that I did not want to be a part of. And it, of course, lies within all ethnic backgrounds and all colors and skin tones and whatever generations. But being, excuse me, what we say, a black man in America, I was given a whole different system of learning how not to be myself. And even though I do not agree with a lot of his topics, but one topic that Louis Farrakhan was talking about, or other people, is the feminization of the black man. This is because for so long in history, the way we stand, the way we look, the way our bodies are, has always felt like something intimidating to someone else. So therefore, it's been demonized and turned into something that's lackluster. But in doing so, it pushed the paradigm of white men who became angrier and they wanted to be sensitive and they were already sensitive. I'll tell you this thing that I've learned right now about gay men or white men and black men is that black men were forced to be overly aggressive and white men were taught to be overly sensitive and passive. Now, because I grew up in Michigan, I grew up in the suburbs, and I got to see both of these worlds being pushed onto me, and I did not accept them. I had white guys who would tell me, "You don't act black. Most black guys act like this," or "They do this and this and this." And then I would meet black men like, "You act white. You do this and this and this and this. You do such and such and such and such." And my interpretation through both of those were, so because I'm a black man who speaks articulate or proper, then I was a sissy, I was sensitive, I was insecure about myself because of those things. And then when I was with other people telling me, "Well, you're not black enough." And that was across the board. I heard that from more black people than anything. "You're not black enough. As a man, as a black man, you supposed to be like this, nigga. You supposed to be talking all out your throat and always talking like this." There's nothing wrong with that. That's an interpretation of energy. And I go there sometimes. But that's also a character that's been portrayed as to who we are, coming from, again, socioeconomic backgrounds of education. I use slang all the time, but a lot of the times you have to remember it came from, well, if you ain't gonna give me the education and the understanding of the know-how, then I'm going to create my own words. I'm going to create my own culture, my own tribe, my own sense of connection. I've heard people say that. Why is that black people think they can just make up words? Because we had to. Shit was taken from us. We had no choice but to make up words so we can communicate with each other and do what we have to do. Sorry, the cat's always in the way. But you know what I mean? This is where the division happened. And beyond that, it trickled down to the division of man and woman. It trickled down to the division of ethnic backgrounds. It trickled down to the division of, well, I live here and you live here, and based on where you live, I'm now better than you. I can talk to you a certain way. I can be a certain way. Now, not knowing this, because my mother was so well put together and so well educated, as putting herself through school and being a black woman in Chicago with long, beautiful hair and all these things and attributes that she learned from Caucasian culture because she was raised by a white family. Talk this way, raise yourself this way, do this. And she hated it. So she went and got herself an awesome but country as hell black man who is like completely opposite of anything you think she would be with. But that's what she resonated with because she was taught to not be with that. Which is, again, let's be real, that's why a lot of white women, when they were younger, dated black men to get back at their parents. Most of them, not all of them, I'm saying, but this is, again, part of our history we have to accept. It's come out of that. It's been replicated over and over and over, and it's said over and over and over, and it's not true. But it is still something that is perpetuated into society. I can still remember one of my friend's parents, as I was a 14-year-old boy, being friends with his daughter. "Oh, well, you know, black boys are just after girls' little pink." And I said, "Sir, I'm gay, and I've never seen one of those, so I don't know what to tell you." And he was like, oh, well, dude, I didn't know you're like 6'4" and you got a beard and like, actually, I was like 6'2" when I was 14, or actually 6'2" when I was 14, and I had my beard growing. I had my little mustache, and he's like, I thought you were some grown man trying to get my daughter. His daughter was 16, I was 14. We just so happened to work at Popeyes together. One of my friends, beautiful white girl, but she had a big old booty, and she attracted black men. So every time her dad's like, I don't bring no black boys home. And she brought me home, and he's like, the fuck is this? And in that moment, I had to learn survival techniques because I felt scared. I actually felt scared because I didn't know what to do with a grown man looking at me with rage, and I didn't know what it meant. And I felt it. I felt it innately. And all I remember was saying, as soon as I said I'm gay, all his anger melted away. All of the threat was gone. All of the, oh well, he's a little faggot. That don't mean nothing. Carry on. Went away. Me being 6'4" didn't matter. Me being black didn't matter. Me being poor or whatever didn't matter. He's gay. He's cool. Let him in. That was my first introduction into the distorted feminine, because I taught myself how to feminize myself in order to survive in a world that was insecure by what they were told was aggressive black men or aggressiveness from my culture of just conditioning. And honestly, I learned very quickly how to manipulate this energy. I wish that it was not that way, but once I recognized it, I started to see how women manipulated it. Because at the time, I'm not taking it from them, but it's also all they had because insecurities took away their voice and their strength. And because of pure structure and size, it meant take everything away from them and use them as we may. And that was a really messed up visual. And I became the martyr to being a feminine, gay, black man, out loud and proud, letting everybody know who heard, because I also remembered that I grew up with a military father and brothers who boxed, and I was ready to go at any time. If you want to try me, you gonna get beat up by a gay man today, hunty. And I'm gonna walk away real pretty like, and embarrass you. Because I learned very quickly, men don't like to be embarrassed by femininity. They are told they can't. You're a man, you're not allowed to, even though the energies exist within inside of us. Now, this being said, unfortunately, I've learned to watch how women and girls teach their children and boys and girls. I'm not excluding them because I'm a boy, I'm telling you my journey. I learned to watch how girls could get away with anything as long as they went. Pouting started very young. This was an induction ceremony. Well, if I just bat my eyes and say like this and I change my voice and I ignore them, I'm going to get my way. And guess what? It worked every single time. Anytime one of my females did it to their dad, did it to their boyfriends, did it to their husbands, they got exactly what they wanted, because in that moment I saw how the distorted feminine abused sensuality with sexuality. Sex is not sensuality, but they've been taught, if I do this, or if you show this, you're asking for it. Well, why did you have your boobs sticking out? Well, why did you show your legs? Honey, let me tell you something right now. Men can look through a freaking church choir gown and still want you. That has nothing to do with anything, but that's been put into the heads of many, many, many of boys for many, many of centuries, and many, many of women and girls for many, many of centuries and decades, that if you do this, you asked for it. If you show this, you brought the attention onto you, and that is not acceptable. But what I learned from my alpha women, these are the ones who taught me everything. Badass hair, badass jobs, badass clothes, badass attitude. You can't tell them shit. And I love them and I respect them. But then I saw something that I don't think they ever saw. I saw how, because I was so masculine in my stature, but so sensitive in my emotions, that when they got around me, that broke them down. This is all I've ever wanted. This is how my dad was. This is how I would want my man to be. This is how I would want my son to be. You're such a beautiful person, a beautiful soul. What is it about you that I can't attain from another man? And I didn't realize in that moment, that's when I connected the autodidacticism of being on not just the practical linear side of being a male, but then also the duality of being a female who was receptive to taking that male and then creating a whole new life based on energy alone. The actual semantics of how you make the fundamental parts, which is the anatomy that makes the baby, that makes everything else. We never create the energy, we just created the flesh. So as I got older and I walked through the world and I started seeing that, oh, if I change my voice a little bit, or if I act a little more feminine, or do a little this, hey girl, everybody just laugh and joke, and they never took me seriously. But then as soon as I get serious and I get upset, whoa, 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 you're being aggressive, which took me back to being an angry black man or an angry black woman and tried to take away all my power. And I said, absolutely not. I am here to articulate myself just like you are, and because I'm educated enough to tell you how I feel and what I've been through and where I'm from, now you get me. And people will go, oh, now I get your story. Now I understand. Now I accept you into my tribe. This is how I walked into corporate America, into what we call the white world, which is not the white world. Maybe when it was being ostracized and controlled that way, but it was just the regular working world. And I've seen so many people from movies like Trading Places and all that stuff where it's like, the man trying to keep me down. No, it was simply the people who were insecure and tried to keep you away from your true innate beauty, which is creativity through masculinity, which makes it to the tangible form. Now, because of my distorted feminine energy, I learned to basically cuss men out without ever getting beat up. Not to say that I can't fight back, but I'm just saying that's where I actually learned how to do conflict resolution. And once I did that with men, I had to do it with women. And women are very cerebral because they can cut you up with so many words and break you down. And you're not supposed to do anything, which is a good thing. I am not condoning any type of violence, but at the same time, that's where the imbalance of shift of, well, if I can't hit her, I want to fuck her. And that's where that stupid rape culture came from. And this is why we have to allow creativity in boys and girls the same way, just as masculine energy of talking up and speaking up and holding your space, the same way we teach boys. Because that makes the balance whole of a person. This is what connected me to my inner self. Once I broke past the societal, what my masculine shell was, and I cracked that shell, and my seed got to finally become a sprout. My sprout was my creative side, which I still didn't know what I was going to be, but I became this beautiful thing that everyone's like, you grow in a different way, and I'm quite intrigued by it. Now, knowing this, just like everyone else, I got abused through sex, and I had to learn how to love myself and shut it off. So I became celibate, been for a few years now, didn't want to be with people, didn't want to talk to people, and then after that, I hook up with guys here and there, and I would feel like I wasted my energy on them because they were not healed themselves. And instead of just allowing them to feel healed, I would put them down. I would talk about their looks, their height, their penis size, and make them feel emasculated. And then I realized, oh my God, that's the power that we've given girls and women. And this is where the anger comes from. When you have a very alpha, put together woman who knows everything she wants to do, and then society says you're not strong enough unless you have that man, or you're not strong enough to do this on your own without that woman, then you're teaching an imbalance that does not exist without knowing who you are first. You have to know the balance to know who you are. If you only know one side, then you do get stuck in believing only one side of the story. And because of that, that's when I had to learn how to truly accept that femininity was not something to fight. It was something to embrace and something to let in, because it gave me my voice. And when I had that moment of strength to let my voice be heard, I allowed my creativity and vulnerability to be seen, which is the permeability of walking into what I call that soulmate connection, connecting your divine masculine and feminine, which leads you into a spiritual journey. This is how I became who I am, and how I had to learn how to love myself just to get to a point to see I already earned myself to respect the energy that I attracted. This is the next part of the next video. It's going to be part 4. I thank you guys for watching. I love you as always. Keep up the energy work. Mwah.